No, he was a big impact in our organization. Passionate. He's an excellent football coach. Very very smart. They got a great one. I think that organization is going to feel him, and he's going to be very much a positive impact on their culture. Yeah, I'm aware of it. We really haven't had very many discussions about it. I'm sure we will over the next few weeks as we head into the owners' meetings. But so I'm aware that we did, but really haven't had many discussions about it. Sorry again. I know we're not very successful against it. I know that, but to be honest with you, I have not put much thought into it. It's been around for a while. We've used it in different fashions with our tight end. Again, I think there'll be a lot of discussions about it. I got to kind of look at some of the information as far as injury rates, things like that, to see. But we'll see. Yeah, I think it's year to year. And every situation is a little bit different. I do think that you're always going to have a little bit of dead cap money if you're doing things probably properly. You don't want it, but at the same time, I think if you're trying to maximize your ability to win each and every year, you're going to probably have a little bit of that. So. I think we're fortunate in Green Bay where, our kind of ownership structure and the way we are, that's not something I've ever really focused on. We've had a lot of stability, from Ron Wolf to Ted Thompson and me now, and certainly with our coaching staffs as well. So, but I can't imagine that hasn't been a factor across the league. But, I know for our process and the way we go about team building, it's really never been a big factor. Yeah, Coach Drake, they do a great job there. Obviously, it's an SEC program. It's just they're playing against the best week in and week out. They just, again, I think they do a really good job there of maximizing their players' abilities and really showing us what we need to see. Yeah, I think we've done. We were talking a little bit about this earlier. We've always focused on versatility with our offensive linemen, whether it be because of injury or because we have players that leave. We feel really good about the flexibility of our guys to play multiple spots and try to get the best five on the field. So it's always impactful, but at the same time, I feel really good about our group right now. Yeah, I think there's always subtle changes. We were talking earlier today a little bit about the receiver position and how there was a time it really took receivers a couple years, 2-3 years to get to the point where they were productive for a team. And I think now with the way high school and college football are operating, those guys are coming into our league and making a bigger impact quicker. So there's always subtle changes, and you're always trying to, keep an eye on that. But, for the most part, what it takes to win hasn't changed a lot. That's a great question. I think for us it's been time, and allowing these guys to develop and get comfortable. I don't know if there's a lot of patience anymore. I understand it. We've had the luxury of having the ability to be a little bit patient with a couple of our quarterbacks and allowing them to get into a space where they were very comfortable with the offense we're running. Continuity in that offense. I think, when Brett and Aaron were here, we were basically in the same offense for a long, long period of time until Matt came in. I think those are some underrated things people don't, spend enough time on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an individual case. Each guy's different. Obviously, you want them to be ready as fast as they can be, but at the same time, it's a tough league, and there's a development period that's always going to happen for all these guys. Yeah, you're balancing everything from kind of where thhere at now, where you kind of feel their end game is, and obviously whatever player we bring in, we want them to get there as fast as we can. But again, it takes time. There's no shortcut for experience. It was important for all our guys, including Lucas. I think again we talked a little bit about we need to affect the quarterback more in our front four, which is 4 players, and Lucas is a big part of that. So he does everything he can. He's everything you want in a professional as far as his work ethic and what he puts into it. And I expect him to take a big jump this year. Mhm. Yeah, the market's been interesting around running backs. I think over the past 10 years or so, it's always been an incredibly important position on the field. They touch the ball as much as or more than any other player you're going to have. I think if there's some trends we were talking about that have changed, is their ability in the passing game now is first and foremost. They got to be able to function in the passing game, and if you have a guy that can do both, it's very valuable. I think for us, like we talked a little bit about the versatility of it, but no, I think that those 5 guys are a unit, and they got to be able to work together as a unit. So certainly your coaching staff is incredibly important. Those guys playing together and having the reps together is incredibly important. But the communication and all that. But I think they just when we've had great offensive lines in the past, and our group now, like I think it's kind of an unselfish group that communicates well, and again, I can't overstate how important the coaching aspect of that is as well. Yeah, in Green Bay, we've never really been a big scheme. We don't. Obviously, we know what our scheme is. We know the subtleties in that. I think we've always tried to. Our process has been about getting the kind of players that can play in any scheme. I think you got to be really careful about when you're selecting players that are one scheme fits, because that stuff can change. I mean, it can change with our staff, and we can what we started out doing at the beginning of the year last year. As half got familiar with what we could and couldn't do, and injuries play a part in that, then we adjust. So you got to have versatile players. You got to have guys that can do everything. So our process has been in place kind of almost 30 some years now. And again, we're aware of our schematic differences than other teams, but it doesn't play a huge role in how we go about it. Yeah, I think obviously Christian's going to miss some time probably at the beginning, more than likely. So we'll kind of see where that goes. But yeah, I think that's going to create opportunities for some guys we have on the roster now that I'm excited for. So we'll kind of see how that shakes out. But we got a long way to go. I mean, we got free agency, the draft, everything coming up. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. It's never been like a philosophical thing we've talked about through my time in Green Bay, which goes back quite a while. It's never been something, hey, like we don't want to take wide receivers in the first round. There are certainly opportunities we've had that we thought that was going to happen, and for whatever reason it didn't. But at the same time, we've had a lot of second-round receivers that have been pretty good players for us. So, again, I do think the immediate impact of wide receivers is changing because of the way these guys are coming out of school, where they can be more impactful quicker. But, again, it's never really been a philosophical thing for us. It's really more just kind of how it shook out. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many different ways. We spent a lot of time talking about this and how we attack it. Certainly within our college scouting staff, those guys their jobs have changed, where it used to be where you go into a school and they recruited them in the home. They were with them for 3 or 4 years. Now these guys are bouncing around to different schools. So there's a lot more collaboration with our scouting staff of how we get to know these players. And then I think this particular draft, if you look at the numbers of players that are 23, 24, 25 years old, it's just a lot more than we've had in the past. So I think a lot of that has to do with guys that would have come out in the last couple drafts, having the opportunity to go back, make money, and stay in, and now they're coming in. So I think we're seeing the effects of it. But it's a moving target right now with the landscape of college football. I give a lot of our staff a lot of credit for just being really kind of thinking outside the box on how we've attacked it. But it's a challenge. Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and we talked a little bit about it earlier, is just the fact that we need to affect the quarterback with four. And how we do that will kind of remains to be seen. But we had good moments last year, but it just needs to be more consistent. It needs to be able to control the game when we need to control the game and finish games off. And again, I'm excited about the guys we have in the room. We'll see if we add to it. But that's got to get better if we're going to accomplish our goals that we want to accomplish in this season. Yeah, really, what our players say in the media doesn't really affect our the way we're going to go about things. I have a lot of private conversations with our players, and that's very important to me. How they feel towards our locker room and our team is important to me. But what happened, it doesn't really move the needle for me. No, I think just really their ability to play the game. I think it's first and foremost what their tape DNA looks like. I think we've tried to make sure we put the right kind of people in our locker room. I think that's very important. To us because we really do think that it's a tough game. It's a long season, and you got to have the right kind of people in there that are working towards a common goal. So, but yeah, there's no particular trait. Yeah, I think there was some really good football this year. A lot of good quarterback play. Really solid organizations, and I think it's going to be competitive for a while. Not a ton. I think it's really more about our conference than anything else. But I think we kind of have standards that have been in place that we believe in, and we're constantly evaluating those. But at the same time, it's more about us and what we think we need to do to get to a championship. It's really not about anything other than that. But we're very aware of what the other teams are doing in our division, in our conference, around the league. So again, it's more about us, but we do pay attention to that. Right.
It really seemed like the passing game was kind of hit and miss for you.
Mm-hmm.
One game really good.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything taking a deep dive? Can you pinpoint what happened exactly to?
Yeah. Yeah, I think again, and things change so much, but I think the one thing, we were very explosive at times last year. We had a very explosive football team, and that's important to us. We want to stay that way. But I thought there were times when we needed to control the football game. We weren't able to control the football game, whether that was through the passing game, the run game. We just weren't able to control the football game. Again, very explosive, and I think we were a threat every time we were out there. But I think we've got to get to a point in situational football where we can control football games, and that'll be important moving forward.
More for you were 11-6 last year. 6 against like the quote unquote top teams, but all those games are almost on the same time. So how do you view your spot?
Well, that depends how you chop up the top teams, right, Bill? You kind of left a couple other ones out that we might have won. No, again, we've talked about this before. Last year I was here and you guys were talking how we're going to catch the San Francisco 49ers. This year I'm sure it'll be the Eagles. It changes, right? And we got to concentrate on us and be the best we can be. I know that if with the group that we have now, we'll add to it. If we do that and we hold our standards high, then I think all those things, will be attainable for us. All the goals we have. Yep. What does a guy need to do with that level of competition to set himself apart? It's a great question. I think certainly we evaluate it like anything else. But the one thing that those guys they came out of pretty good FCS programs, right? Those guys were as good of programs as a lot of Division I programs. So that's one. So there's a little bit of a history there. I love it when those guys go compete in all-star games. It's very helpful to us because we get to see it in a little different light. But there's challenges when those guys come into our league that are a little different than maybe some of their counterparts. But at the end of the day, both a couple of those guys you mentioned had kind of high-end traits that would make you think that they would adjust to our game pretty quickly.